Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. Well, the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks back down to pocket size for effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that? I'll tell you what, an exciting exclusive offer just for you.
For a limited time, you can get a free Pocket Pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just go to getcopperhead.com. That's getcopperhead.com for your 2 free gifts with purchase. Getcopperhead.com.
Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
A warmer from the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you as we're going to be joined in segment number 2 by one of our good friends as we're going to be chatting with Dylan Rockford, who does amazing work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, and we're going to be diving in about what he's taking a look at on the Wednesday card, some of the teams that have been big disappointments to him, some of the teams that have been pleasant surprises as well, and then in the final segment, going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Wednesday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of 2 ways we'll fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, LRZM, they mean does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. The other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. While I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, everything is powered by Edge Boost. Edge Boost is making sure the bettors are able to access their funds whenever and wherever they want. With Edge Boost, you earn cashback rewards as you utilize it, and when you go to edgeboost.bet, type in that promo code of Greg, G-R-E-G. That'll get you a $1 match on your first deposit up to $25. Now let's take a look back at everything that we saw in baseball on Tuesday. Try to find some trends and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The top over team in all of baseball was unable to get an over because the game was called after 7 innings, so that was a voided total, but the Toronto Blue Jays do indeed get the job done, and they get the win over the Chicago White Sox, this by kind of 6-1, as this game was called after 7 innings for the Toronto Blue Jays. You had in this game Davis Schneider get a home run off of Aaron Savali, 4th home run of the campaign as Savali was rough. 5 runs allowed in 4 innings. Tyler Gilbert, he goes 2 innings, he gives up a run, and Dan Altavia, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. You did have Mr. Josh Rojas get his first home run of the campaign for the White Sox. That comes off Chris Bassett, but you hook, line, and sinker gave up that home run in 6 innings in what is going to turn out to be a complete game. So, hey, congrats to him. Hey, congrats to the Atlanta Braves for being completely disappointing this year. 12 games below 500, 10-1. The A's absolutely take it to the Atlanta Braves. DDA Fuentes got 3 outs and he gave up 8 runs, all of which were earned. Why this guy was at the big league level, I have no idea. He gave up a trio of bombs. As going deep off of him, Brent Rooker, 19th home run of the campaign. Max Muncy, the other Max Muncy, his 8th home run season. Lawrence Butler, his 12th home run of the campaign. And then off of Jesse Chavez, who would give up 2 solo home runs. Nick Kurtz, his 14th home run of the season. Butler again, his 13th, as Chavez gives up 2 solo home runs in 3 innings of work. You had Austin Cox and Angel de los Santos combined for 3 scoreless innings, and Luke Williams, the backup shortstop, a scoreless inning, and you were able to get an Eli White home run, 4th home run campaign off of Jeffrey Springs. That's all he'd surrender in 6 innings. So Justin Sterner, 2 scoreless innings, and Elvis Alvarado, he was in the building for a scoreless inning. The Texas Rangers have been a great under team, best under team in all of baseball. Very overwhelming result on Tuesday, though. 13-1. They take down the Los Angeles Angels as you had Corey Seager get his 13th home run of the season. You had Jake Berger get his 11th home run of the campaign. Wyatt Langford his 14th home run of the season, as those all come off of the LA Angels. That it was rough to say the least. As Kevin Newman actually threw 3 innings in this game. Position player threw 3 innings, gave up 3 runs, including 2 home runs. Jose Soriano lit up like a Christmas tree, 5 runs given up in 4 innings. And Sam Eldajiri, he comes in for 2 innings. He gives up 5 runs, all of which were earned, including a home run. very, very sad that the LA Angels lose this game by 12 runs despite going 1 of 1 with men in scoring position, as Ethan Eovaldi, 1 unearned run given up in 6 innings. Dane Dunning gets her Dunning with 2 scoreless innings, and Ezekiel Duran, the backup shortstop, was able to give you a scoreless inning. The Slam Diego Padres slammed down on the Arizona Diamondbacks 1-0 the final. Nick Pivetta 5 2/3 innings scoreless. Jeremiah Estrada, Jason Adam, and Robert Suarez all ended scoreless inning. By the way, Merrill Kelly, he had a home run robbery that essentially saved the game for the San Diego Padres, as Audrey Morejon also got an out of the bullpen scoreless. And for the Arizona Diamondbacks, Merrill Kelly's a tough luck loser. Gives up a home run to Luis Arias, 5th home run campaign. That's all he did give up in 7 innings. John Curtis with 2 S's comes in. He lends a scoreless inning. San Francisco Giants appear to be getting back online. 4-3, they're able to take down the Philadelphia Phillies, and all of a sudden for the San Francisco Giants, they've been able to run off 4 wins in a row, and I believe that they have now won 6 out of their last 7. As for the Phillies, Taijuan Walker, 1 run allowed in 4 innings, not bad here. It was Jordan Romano who blew this game though, as Romano, he gives up a inside the park home run to Patrick Bailey, the catcher. 3 runs allowed in his inning of work, as Tanner Banks, Max Laser, along with Matt Strom, all led a scoreless inning. Davis Robert, he gets an out of the bullpen scoreless, and for the Phillies, you did have Kyle Schwarber go give you a Schwarbomb, 28th home run in the campaign. That comes off of Spencer Bivens, who gave up 2 runs in 1 1/3 innings. Robbie Ray said hip hip hooray to giving up just 1 run in 5 2/3 innings. Tristan Beck scoreless inning. Scott Alexander and Ryan Walker were both able to combine for a scoreless inning, and for Bailey, his 2nd home run in the campaign, an inside the park walk-off home run. You just don't see that very often. You don't see this very often either. The Astros just swept the LA Dodgers on the road, and now they lose back-to-back games at home against the Cleveland Guardians. 10-6 the final is for the Gardos, trio of bombs, as you had Angel Martinez get his 6th home run in the campaign. That comes off of Josh Hader, and then Hunter Brown gives up a pair of bombs. Jose Ramirez, 16th home run season. Brian Rocchio is first for Brown. This is an ERA booster. 6 runs allowed in 6 innings, including those 2 homers. Steven Okert, Hector Neris, both on the scoreless inning. Josh Hader, he comes in for the 9th and 10th innings, gives up 4 runs, 3 of which were earned in that 10th inning, and then from there, Carol Laborde, he gets an out of the bullpen scoreless, and for the Astros, 2 of 21 with men in scoring position, as Joey Cantillo, while he couldn't go long in this game, 3 runs allowed in 4 innings, but Matthew Festa was able to lend a scoreless inning along Jacob Junis, Emmanuel Clase, Cade Smith, 4 outside the bullpen scoreless, Eric Sabrowski, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless, and Hunter Gaddis, he's struggling. He gives up 2 runs over the course of his inning of work. The Orioles, they are also struggling. 7-6, they lose to the New York Metropolitans. As for the Mets, this was not what Clay Holmes was looking for. 5 runs allowed in 5 innings. Richard Lovelady comes in for a pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. I believe he wants to be called Dickie Lovelady. Reed Garrett, Edwin Diaz, Oscar Barzobin, all in a scoreless inning, and you did have 1 1/3 innings from Alejandro Carrillo in his MLB debut. Does give up a home run. It's going deep for Baltimore. Jackson Holliday, 12th home run in the campaign, and then this was a solid outing for Brandon Young. He gives up 2 runs in 5 1/3 innings. He does allow home run, as going deep off of him. It was home run number 4 of the campaign for Ronnie Mauricio. From there, you did have a pair of other home runs for the New York Mets, as Brian Baker gives one up to Francisco Lindor, 18th home run season. Pete Alonso is 24th, as Baker does not get a single out, gives up 4 runs, including 2 bombs. Did have Andrew Kittredge, Sir Anthony Dominguez, Felix Bautista, all lend a scoreless inning. Gregory Soto, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless, and Yunier Cano gives up an unearned run. Juan Soto in the 10th inning drives in the ghost runner with a single, and that's all she wrote. The Colorado Rockies, now 71 losses this year. They lose to the Boston Red Sox. This by a count of 10-2. Kyle Freeland now has 10 losses of his own, 3 runs allowed in 5 2/3 innings. Juan Mejia, he gets an out of the bullpen and he allows a run. Zach Ognos, he comes in for 1 2/3 innings. He does allow a solo run, as going deep off of him, it was home run number 7 of the season for Jaron Duran. And Trevor Story off of Jake Bird, 15th home run of the season, as Bird gave the Bird to his ERA, giving up 5 runs in a third of an inning. Hunter Goodman does go deep off of Brian Bayo, 17th home run of the season, as Bayo, complete game, 10 punch-outs, gives up 2 runs, including that home run, but I am very rock solid, and that preserves the bullpen. The Detroit Tigers preserve a win. They take down the Tampa Bay Rays, this by a count of 4-2, as for the Rays, Ryan Pepio gives up 2 runs over the course of 6 innings, including home run to Spencer Torkelson, 21st home run in the campaign. Cole Keith from there, he gets his 8th home run season off of Edwin Uceta. Uceta gives up that home run, 2 runs in total in an inning. Eric Orze was able to come in for a scoreless inning, and for the Detroit Tigers, Captain Jack Flaherty, 2 runs allowed in 6 1/3 innings, much better showing from him. Jonathan Miranda does get his 11th home run in the campaign. From there, Tyler Holden, Will Vest, both on his scoreless inning, and Tommy Canley, he's able to give you a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Miami Marlins have all of a sudden gotten hot, as They have now won 11 straight wins on the road. 12-2 the final. Wow, 11 straight road wins for the Miami Marlins as they got a good start out of Eury Perez. He gets 8 strikeouts. He gives up a solo home run, this to Matt McClain, his 10th home run of the campaign. From there, you did have 1 unearned run given up in an inning by Josh Simpson, 2 scoreless innings out of Tyler Phillips, Kate Gibson, a scoreless inning, and the team went 7 of 11 with men in scoring position, so they were always open at scoring runs. No home runs, but Nick Martinez completely lit up. 10 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. Scott Barlow, a scoreless inning. Lyon Richardson, an unearned run given up in his inning of work, and Jose Trevino, the catcher, he comes in for 2 innings of work and he gives up a run. The New York Yankees have all of a sudden been very much going over. 5+ runs scored, and I believe now each of their last 7 games, and they take it to the Seattle Mariners 10-3 the final. Logan Gilbert did not have it. 5 runs allowed in 5 1/3 innings, including a home run to Giancarlo Stanton, 2nd home run of the campaign. Aaron Judge stays hot off of Casey Lugumina, 34th home run of the campaign, and Lugumina gives one up to Austin Wells, who hit it Wells for his 4th home run of the campaign. Lugumina gives up 5 runs in his inning work, and then you had 5 outs of the bullpen scrolls from Juan Burgos, and Cal Raleigh, big dumper, his Major League leading 36th home run campaign. That comes off Jeff Hartlieb, who gives up 3 runs in a third of an inning. Will Warren, very good, 5 2/3 inning squirrels. Tim Hill and Ian Hamilton combined for 6 outs out of the bullpen squirrels, and Scott Effers was able to give you a scoreless inning as well. You were able to have lots of scoring by the Minnesota Twins as they take down the Chicago Cubs, this by a count of 8-1. For the Cubs, Justin Turner down for what? Lone run of the game comes off of Joey Wentz in the 9th inning. 2nd home run of the campaign as Simeon Woods Richardson. Very solid. 5 scoreless innings. Danny Kalum, Brock and Roll Stewart combined for a scoreless inning. Cole Sands, Griffin Jacks, they both give you a scoreless inning, and then Wentz gives up that solo home run. And then a trio of bombs by the Minnesota Twins as Porter Hodge gives one up to Willie Castro, his 8th home run of the season. He also gives one up to Ryan Jeffers, his 7th home run of the campaign. And Harrison Bader, his 11th home run of the season. As for Hodge, he comes in for a third of an inning. He gives up 6 runs, all of which weren't including 3 bombs. Shoji Imanaga was not bad in this one. 2 runs allowed in 6 innings. Caleb Theobar, scoreless inning. And John Birdie, the backup infielder, he was able to give you a pair of outs out of the bullpen squirrels. Lots of position player love on this night. And for the Milwaukee Brewers, just lots of love to staying hot. 3-1, they take down the LA Dodgers as the Dodgers have now lost 5 straight games as Clayton Kershaw gives up 2 runs in 6 innings. Not a bad outing here. Alex Vesia, scoreless inning. Kirby Yates does give up a solo home run to one Mr. Sal Frelick, his 7th home run of the campaign, and the Miz, Jacob Mizorowski, 12 punch-outs. He does allow a solo home run to Shohei Ohtani, 31st home run of the season, leadoff home run, and then he settled in from there. Jerry Koenig, Abner Uribe, and Trevor McGill, they all lend a scoreless inning, and the Kansas City Royals lend another under. 36 overs, 56 unders, and a push. They take down the Pittsburgh Pirates by a count of 4-3. As for the Buccos, Mitch Keller gives up 3 runs, 2 of which were earned in 6 2/3 innings, including barrel bombs. Nick Lofton, 3rd home run of the campaign. Jack Caglione, his 3rd home run of the campaign. And Seth Lugo, 2 solo home runs allowed in his 6 innings of work, as Oniel Cruz gets his 16th home run of the campaign. Nick Gonzalez, his 4th home run of the season. Anel Zerpa, Carlos Aceves from there, both give you a scoreless inning, and Lucas Ursic does give up a run in an inning. Meanwhile, for the Buccos, Caleb Ferguson and out of the bullpen squirrels. Dennis Santana charged with giving up a run in 1 1/3 innings as Isaac Madsen came in with inherited runners and were unable to hold them down. And for the St. Louis Cardinals, they hold it down for a W by a count of 4-2 over the Washington Nationals. For the Nats, you had a relatively good outing from Andrew Chafin and Mason Miller, both giving up no runs in their inning of work, but Jake Irvin, 4 runs given up in his 6 innings, including a home run to Brendan Donovan, 8th home run season, and Lars Nootbaar, his 12th home run season. And for Sonny Gray, not a great start, not a bad one. 2 runs allowed in 5 innings. Steven Matz, Phil Matone, Jojo Romero, Ryan Helsley, they all lend a scoreless inning. And if you're taking a look at trend-wise, what we're getting in Major League Baseball right now, the under rate is 52.6%, 697 unders to 628 overs, with favorites hitting at about 57.9%, 789 and 574 on the money line. You look at the last 7 days, things are starting to get just a little bit more overwhelming, 50 overs to 48 unders. Meanwhile, the money line favorites in this time span hitting at 58.8%, 57 and 40 on the money line. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's what we're all getting trend-wise. Coming up next, how about if we preview Wednesday's games and take a look at some of the biggest surprises and disappointments in baseball with our good friend Dylan Rockford of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network right here on the Baseball Betting Show. Myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the Beast and Family Podcast.
Hi, I'm Richard Karn. and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. Well, the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks back down to pocket size for effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that? I'll tell you what, an exciting exclusive offer just for you.
For a limited time, you can get a free pocket pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just go to getcopperhead.com. That's getcopperhead.com for your 2 free gifts with purchase. Getcopperhead.com.
Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Great to be joined by this man, as Dylan Rockford does such a tremendous job over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. He is over there doing a great job on that front. I know he also does some nice work with regards to taking a look at combat sports as well, as he does the Kicks Picks podcast. I know he does quite a few podcasts. He does a nice job on the football front as well. And you're able to follow him on Twitter/X at Rock with 2Ks 24 altogether. And Dylan, it's great to get you aboard. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Always good to be with you.
Always great to have you aboard, Dylan. And Dylan, now we have seen north of 85 games for all these teams. The All-Star break is coming up next week. And just what have been some of your takeaways from this MLB season thus far? And what have been some of the better surprises, whether that be to the positive or the negative?
Yeah, so I guess one positive would be how good Toronto is. I mean, they are actually looking like a first-place team. I know Michael Kay had some choice words, but they're probably the hottest team in baseball right now. They've won 9 in a row. Clutch hitting. They're doing it with their pitching. Their bullpen's developed into a top 10 bullpen as well. They've been one of the biggest surprises for me, especially in the American League. We all know how good Detroit is. Houston, they're really starting to turn things around. They're 7-3 in their last 10. That's one of the big surprises for me. I mean, negatively, though, how bad Cleveland has been. I know they won the other night, but they lost 9-10 in a row at one point. They can't hit. Pitching has really taken a toll. Atlanta Braves. I don't, let me ask you, are people still backing the Braves at this point? Because I haven't been. They've been terrible, the Braves. At home, they're not a team I want to bat. Bryce Elder, who we might talk about for Wednesday, he's terrible as well. So they've been really bad, and that's about it off the top of my head.
Yeah, with the Cleveland Guardians, it's been rough for them, no question about it. And I mean, the pitching has been fine, but they have absolutely no offense whatsoever. And I need to talk to you about this team as well. The Atlanta Braves entered in the day on Tuesday, 11 games below 500, and just how have you been evaluating them? Because they still keep getting priced as if they're an above 500 team. And I know that a lot of people like to make the lazy argument of, oh, they had that West Coast road trip and everything like that. Take those 7 games out, and they're still like 4 or 5 games below 500.
Yeah, I don't back them at all. I don't understand the market continuing to back them like they're a 500 or above 500 team. I'm seeing sometimes they're minus 150, minus 155 on the road, no less. When they're 15-28 on the road, that's preposterous right now. I think Ronald Acuna Jr., he should not be an all-star. You shouldn't be an all-star if you play less than half the games in the first half. I understand it being in Truist Park, but you should not be, especially against a guy like a Suzuki, who is probably one of the best outfielders in the National League right now. So that is absurd. Their pitching is terrible. They leave a lot of guys on base. I just can't trust this Atlanta Braves team right now.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And right now we're finding them as about minus 135 to minus 140 favorites on the road against the Athletics. Now, recognize the Athletics are not necessarily the most trustworthy team in the world, and Mitch Spence, not the Mona Lisa Vito pitching, but also it is Bryce Elder on the bump for the Atlanta Braves. Total on this game is 10.5. How do you take a look at this game? Because for me, I've just been playing a lot of overs in Sacramento, but with the Atlanta Braves, what has really been killing them has been the fact that their offense is in the bottom 10 of the big leagues in terms of runs per game.
Yeah, I know you mentioned Mitch Spence, and he's not that good, but he's better than Bryce Elder. I mean, Bryce Elder's terrible. I don't want to back aside. If I were to back aside, I would take Atlanta, the Sacramento A's. but I'm going to take the over. It's been profitable all season in Sacramento, 25-19 towards the over. Bryce Elder's given up 4+ runs in 4 straight starts, and the A's could actually hit at home. They're hitting around 261 on the year. Not a big Mitch Spence guy, whether he's starting coming out of the pen. And even if he does well, I don't think the bullpen is all that good. I think they might be able to get to the bullpen as well. This game screams over. It's going to be a hot night in California, so the ball should travel. I set my total at a solid 11, so 10.5. I think we get over here. So yeah, give me the over.
Yep, and with regards to Sacramento, man, it's been rough, and I have a tough time taking a 10.5 over, but in this case, I would be willing to do so because Elder is rough, Mitch Spence is not performing very well, that A's bullpen has been terrible, so I'm right there with you. As Dylan Rockford, who does such great work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, is joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show, and I find this to be an interesting one. Talk about not necessarily the world's greatest starting pitching matchup. It's the Texas Rangers and the LA Angels, with it being Kumar Rocker going up against the Professor Kyle Hendricks. And right now, the Rangers are like -128 to -132 favorites. I recognize that Kyle Hendricks is not good, but Kumar Rocker, north of -130 favorite on the road, just feels wrong.
I think the wrong team is favorite. The only guy you could back whose name is Kumar is Harold and Kumar went to White Castle. That is the only Kumar
I like White Castle.
Yes, I was just talking to Scott Reichel on the MLB show, and we're big White Castle guys. There's one like 2-3 blocks away from my house. I'm a White Castle. I'm very pro White Castle, but there's no way the Rangers should be this big of a favorite on the road with Kumar Rocker. He's been terrible for them. He's given up 2+ runs on the road in all 6 road starts. Walks are an issue. He gives up the deep ball. There's a lot of hard contact, and plus the Rangers stink on the road as well. This is an awful spot for him. And I think Kyle Hendricks has kind of turned it around a little bit. I think he's been much more serviceable for the Halos at home this year. Angels are 3-1 straight up in his last 4 home starts. I got to take the Angels here. I cannot back the Rangers on the road.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, and I recognize that Kyle Hendricks is not great, but man, that's an issue. And I mean, the total of 9 seems very low, especially you're able to get like even money on the over as well. So that's something that's certainly going to be calling my name. Something else that's calling my name, David Festa and Cade Horton. This Cubs versus Twins game is a relative pick'em. I know that Cade Horton is not the world's greatest starter for the Cubs, but I mean, these seem like 2 relatively even up pitchers, and if you take out the starting pitchers, the Cubs have the better bullpen. The Cubs have by far the better offense. Being able to get the Cubs at a pick'em here feels pretty good to me.
Yeah, I can't believe the Cubs are the underdog in some spots. -104 I was able to get. My numbers made him a -140 favorite. Maybe my numbers are a little off, but I got to back the Cubs here. One word to describe David Festa: terrible. I cannot back David Festa. Him and the entire Twins, they're on my do not bet list for right now. I know Cade Horton isn't that much better, but I really don't think he's been all that bad on the road. I think that he's had one really bad start against the Astros, but outside of that, I think he's been okay. I guess the main difference here is how good the offense for the Cubbies are compared to Minnesota. Cubs are hitting 268 on the road. They're averaging the most runs on the road in the league. I have to take the Cubs. Even if David Festa winds up pitching decently, don't trust the bullpen. I think the Cubs eventually will get to this Minnesota pitching staff. So I'm going to take the Cubs based on pure value at -104.
Yep, I'm right there with you. And the Cubs are actually number 1 now in the big leagues in terms of runs per game. So, yeah, I'm in agreement with you there, as we do have Dylan Rockford, who does great work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, joining me on the Baseball Betting Show. And this is one game where I take a look at the under. It's Pirates versus Royals. I recognize Chris with K. Bubich is starting to regress a little bit, but he's having a nice season. It's lefty on lefty crime with Bailey Falter going for the Pirates. And I don't know how you take a look at this game, but with the Royals, I feel like they can start to heat up a little bit more with their offense. We saw it on Monday, but the Pirates are last in the league in runs per game on the road. The Royals are last in the league in terms of runs per game at home, and both of these pitchers have actually had some pretty nice seasons.
Yeah, I got burned on Monday night with the under with these two teams because Andrew Heaney just got smoked. But let's get back. Let's go right back to it. I agree. I'm on the under 7.5. I also think the Royals are a little too big of a favorite, in my opinion. And I don't really trust Pittsburgh to go out there and win the game, but my numbers only made the Royals a -150 favorite. I see a -170, -180. I think that's a little extreme. And as for the total, my total came out to 7.2. Chris Bubich, he's been good for the Royals. Under is 5-3 in his 8 home starts this season. And I just think this is a bad spot for the Pirates. They stink against left-handed pitchers. They're only hitting around 218 on the year. And Bailey Falter, he hasn't been terrible either. Royals, they're dead last, averaging 2.98 runs per game at home this season. We also have winds blowing in. That should help us keep the ball in the ballpark as well. So, yeah, I see maybe a 4-1, 4-2 type game. I like the under 8.5 as well.
Yep, total agreement with you there. It is a game where I just feel like that total has gone up a little bit too high, and I do think that we are going to be able to get some good bang for our buck there. And then I find this to be so fascinating. Sandy Alcantara, it feels like the numbers just have not caught up with how bad he's been this far this season. I'm right now finding the Cincinnati Reds in that neighborhood about a minus 140, minus 135-ish favorite, total of 8.5. And I do think that maybe there is a world where Sandy Alcantara starts to find it a little bit more. I need to see it to believe it, especially against a guy in Andrew Abbott, who I feel like he's been amazing this year.
Yeah, 100%. He's been one of the best left-handed pitchers in the league, I feel like. And I agree. I'm going to take the short price here with the Reds at home. My numbers made him, again, maybe my numbers are a little off, but they made him a minus 180 favorite. I feel like maybe that be a little too high, but Andrew Abbott has been so good for the Reds, home and on the road. I know they've lost 3 in a row. Offense hasn't really heated up, but they got their ace on the mound. I think this is a great spot for them to get back into the win column. The Fish, they're not the best against left-handed pitching, and with Abbott being one of the best in the game right now, I find them struggling to score runs offensively. So, and we don't even need to speak how bad Sandy Alcantara has been. So we are going to continue to fade him. I'm going to take the short price. I got minus 140, but if you say minus 135, I got to look again. I might double down. I love the Reds here at home.
Yep, I am right there with you. And with regards to the slate that we've got on Wednesday, it's a pretty solid one. We've got all 30 teams in action. Anything else that you're going to be taking a look at, and anything else that you might be looking to bet?
Yeah, one game I really like. Go with another total. Maybe that's the theme of the pod today. But between that Rockies and Red Sox with Lucas Giolito and our favorite person, we love to fade this guy, Antonio Sensatella.
The human pinata.
Exactly. A 9 at Fenway? My total came out to 9.9. I love this over. Antonio Sens, do I need to say more? He stinks. He's given up 4+ runs in 5 of his last 6 starts. And Red Sox offensively, they've been on fire. They're averaging 5.33 runs per game at home this season. They just put up 36 runs in the last 4 games. The over is 5-0 in the Red Sox last 5. Rockies are also 4-1 towards the over in their last 5. And granted, it's not because of their offense. It's how bad defensively and pitching they are. But still, I think we see a high-scoring game here. 9 seems very small in an Antonio Sensatella game.
Yep, it certainly does. You mentioned it. It's Fenway. And Lucas Giolito, to his credit, he's been pitching much better.
Yeah.
I could see a little bit of regression coming there as well. So we are in lockstep there. And Dylan, I know you're doing an amazing job of evaluating this great game of baseball. You're doing a little bit of everything over there at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. So we'll let the good people at home know what's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, you guys can find me over on Twitter or X, whatever you guys call it, at Rock with 2Ks24. Last week of the first half of the baseball season, we got the Home Run Derby on Monday, and we got the All-Star Game a week from tonight on Tuesday night. Yeah, we got UFC's back in action, UFC Nashville as well. So we're locked and loaded, and we're about we got football actually, Greg, this month, the Hall of Fame game. So never taking a break. We're locked and loaded, and always appreciate you for having me on.
Get the White Castles whenever our good friend Dylan Rockford is aboard. He does such an amazing job of valuing this great game of baseball every single time he joins me, lends such great insights, and did so once again today. So big thanks to Dylan for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. And coming up next, it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Wednesday as we touch them all.
Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. Well, the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks back down to pocket size for effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that? I'll tell you what, an exciting exclusive offer just for you.
For a limited time, you can get a free pocket pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just go to getcopperhead.com. That's getcopperhead.com for your 2 free gifts with purchase. Getcopperhead.com.
Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. It is always great to be joined by Dylan Rockford, who does such great work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Take a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights, and he did so once again today. So a big thanks to Dylan for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Wednesday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at gunit_81, and we are going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first, then the American League games, any interleague games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. So how about if we do get things started with 901, 902 on the card? The LA Dodgers are on the road against the Milwaukee Brewers. Jose Quintana is on the bump for the Crew, and Tyler Glasnow goes for the Dodgers. The Dodgers do find themselves as a pretty good-sized favorite, anywhere between minus 152 to a minus 165, and between plus 130 to plus 142, that number on the Crew, with 8.5 being the total. Under is minus 115, and the over is minus 105. I set the Dodgers at just a minus 136. I'm going to be willing to side with the Brewers. For Tyler Glasnow, when this guy is rocking and rolling, he is one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. Question is he actually going to be rocking and rolling? Because he has spent much of the season on the injured list. This is his first time being out there on the mound since the back half of April, and even when he had his first 5 starts of the season, he had a 4.50 ERA. He was still getting a lot of strikeouts, but his command was all over the place. It's not like he's done a whole bunch of rehab or anything like that. He had a trio of appearances over at Oklahoma City, and he got shelled in those appearances. He went 8 2/3 innings. He gave up 5 walks in that time span, so that's a bit of an issue. And for Jose Quintana, certainly he has given up quite a bit of contact this far this season. He is not a guy that's going to be giving you a bunch of whiffs. He's only getting about 6.1 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's giving up about 3.5 walks per 9 as well. 3.44 ERA compared to a 4.42 fielding independent, as he has allowed a grand total of 3+ runs in 3 out of his last 4 starts. But for this Milwaukee Brewers team, they're also doing a really nice job of moving line, finding a way to be able to get on base as well. For the Crew, you've got a lot of guys that are sort of in that neighborhood of about a 333 to a 350 plus on base percentage, with having Isaac Collins actually giving you a 368 on base, and then the likes of a William Contreras, Bryce Terang, Sal Frelick, Rhys Hoskins, Caleb Durbin, Christian Yelich, all between a 334 to a 352 on base. In the case of Frelick and Terang, a combined 32 stolen bases. Jackson Chourio, 16 stolen bases with 15 home runs. Not a ton of power out of this Brewers team, but Christian Yelich is give you 18 home runs as well, so they've been able to do a nice job there. And for the LA Dodgers, obviously this being the highest run-scoring team in all baseball, they've been able to do a really nice job of being able to get their offense going. And with this LA Dodgers team, you've got Shohei Ohtani, who's been absolutely amazing. He's giving you 30 home runs, north of a 380 on base, and then additionally you've got Andy Paz, Teoscar Hernandez, giving you combined 31 home runs this far this season. Freddie Freeman has been hitting above a 300. Mookie Betts has had a little bit of a down year, but Will Smith, 434 on base with his 12 bombs. But for the LA Dodgers, this has been a little bit of a fragile bullpen. They're outside the top 15 in terms of their bullpen ERA. Alex Vesia has been solid in this bullpen. He's been able to give you a sub 275 ERA. He's pretty much a lone guy in this bullpen, though, that is giving you an ERA below 3. Jack Dreher, Lou Trevino, these guys have been relatively okay, but that's got to be a concern for you if you're a fan of the LA Dodgers. And I do think that for the Milwaukee Brewers, with their bullpen being a little bit better right now, they are still in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of their ERA, but Abner Uribe, Nick Mears, Aaron Ashby, these guys coming in, give you a sub 3 ERA. I do think that they find a way to get the job done. At a plus 137 or higher, looking at the Brewers on the money line, did semi-total at an 8.8 as well, so seeing this 8.5, I like the over. 903, 904 on the card. The Philadelphia Phillies at the road, they're facing off against the San Francisco Giants. Justin Verlander is on the bump for the Giants, and Jesus Luzardo goes for the Phils. Phillies are minus 130 to minus 137 favorites, between plus 112 to plus 118. That number on the Giants with a total of 8. Over is minus 115, and the under is minus 105. And for Verlander, set him at a plus 109. I'm going to be willing to take a shot here. Jesus Luzardo is doing for a lot of positivity. 4.44 ERA, but a 2.77 fielding dependent. Recognize that he's given up 3+ runs, and I believe now 4 out of his last 7 starts. He had that 2-start stretch where he gave up a combined 20 runs. That was just not great to say the least. But that said, he's been giving up only about 0.6 home runs per 9 innings. He's getting 10.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. And for Justin Verlander, he's at an advanced age. He's not getting the same amount of swings and misses that he used to. 44 ERA, but still a 4.27 fielding dependent. He's giving up 1.1 home runs per 9 innings, and he's backed up by the best bullpen in the big leagues in terms of ERA. The Giants are posting up as a collective a 2.92 ERA. You've been able to have a lot of guys come in there, give you a sub-3.25 ERA. The long guy in Spencer Bivens, Eric Miller, Taylor Rogers, Randy Rodriguez, along with Camilo Duvall. These guys are all coming in, holding down the fort. They're starting to find something in Joey Lucchesi as well. And for the Giants, a big issue that this team has been offensively, as you were counting on Rafael Devers coming in and being able to give you some good production. But as of right now, he hasn't necessarily been able to give you a ton. 350 on base with 2 home runs in his first 20 games. Jungo Lee, along with Wilmer Flores, thrown there as well. Mike Yastrzemski, all in between about a 242, 245. Yastrzemski is give you a 335 on base, but need a little bit more there. Eloy Ramos has been your top guy in terms of going yard. 14 bombs, 345 on base, and Matt Chapman just coming off the injured list with a 365 on base. That should be able to help them out a little bit as well. And for the Philadelphia Phillies, it's Kyle Schwarber, not a whole lot else with regards to being able to supply power. Schwarber has been amazing. He's been able to give you 27 home runs, and he's been able to do a nice job moving line with about a 380 on base. And then from there, you've got Nick Castellanos, who's been able to about a 270. He's up to 11 home runs along Trey Turner. Max Kepler not hitting for any sort of average, but he's been able to give you a bit of power. JT Realmuto is back up to hitting at 250. That helps his team out a little bit, and Umando Sosa has been able to do a nice job of moving line as well. But that said, I do take a look at this spot, and I do think that the Phillies bullpen just being far less than that of the Giants is going to be a little bit of an undoing. Orion Kerkering is pretty much the only guy in this bullpen who's been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Tanner Banks is up to about a 320. Matt Strom, the starter from yesterday, and Taijuan Walker, these guys have been very hot and cold to say the least, and it got so bad that they had to DFA Carlos Hernandez. So this is a circumstance where I did set the Giants at a plus 109, plus 110 or higher, looking at that money line, and did set my total at 7.4. I think the positivity is coming for both of these pitchers in a pitcher-friendly ballpark. I like the under and the money line of the Giants. 905, 906 on the card. The Miami Marlins at the road they're facing off against the Cincinnati Reds. And yes, we're on to Cincinnati. He's on to Andrew Abbott getting the start for them. Sandy Alcantara is on the bum for the Miami Marlins. The Marlins do find themselves as underdogs of anywhere between plus 118 to a plus 128. Meanwhile, between minus 136 to minus 145 is that number on the Reds. 8.5 is the total. The over is minus 120 and the under is even. And with regards to Miami, I did set them at a plus 174. So I'm going to be willing to lay it with the Reds. If we get a good enough run line price, I might be looking run line as well. I know it's a little bit of a roll of the dice with regards to home team, but if you're looking at that initial FanDuel run line price, which they always have some of the worst run line prices that you're going to find with regards to the openers, right now that's plus 134. If I could be able to get like a plus 140 or something like that, which I think I should, I would be willing to take a shot there for Andrew Abbott. He has been able to do an amazing job this season, giving up 0 or 1 runs in 12 out of his 15 starts. Now he's doing for a bit of regression. This is a man that has been giving up about 1.1 home runs, 2.5 walks per 9 innings, but still 2.15 ERA compared to a 3.60 fielding independent. And for Sandy Alcantara, 7.01 ERA. He has given up 12 runs in his last 2 starts. He's giving up north of 3.5 walks per 9 innings. Now the fielding independent is in the high 4s, so he's been getting a little bit unlucky this season. And this is a Miami Marlins team that is averaging about 4.8 runs per game when they're away from home, so they've been able to do a pretty rock solid job on that front. But when it comes to Miami, there's also not a ton of power with this team, as you've had Augustin Ramirez, Kyle Stowers combined for 30 home runs. Ramirez is sitting about a 245, and Stowers about a 350 on base. You've got plenty of guys that find a way on, like you've been able to get Jesus Sanchez, Eric Wagaman, Otto Lopez, all give you between a 245 to a 255 average. Dave Myers has been able to give you about a 340 on base, and you've had Otto Lopez actually supply 9 home runs as well, but still, you could use a little bit more there. And this team in the Miami Marlins is in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of their bullpen ERA. Kay Gibson, Anthony Bender have both been solid in this bullpen, a sub-270 ERA, and Ronnie Enriquez has been able to give you a bit of something as well, but then you got Valentin Beloso, give you north of 4.5 ERA. Calvin Fauché has been all over the place. Jesus Tinoco, Anthony Veziano, these guys are relatively banged up, and Tinoco, north of 5 ERA when he's actually been out there. And for the Cincinnati Reds, it has been a case where Emilio Pagan has given up a few more deep balls than what you'd like, but still has been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. You've had Taylor Rogers come in and hold down the fort. He's been able to give you a sub-3 ERA, you've got the likes of a Brent Suter, Graham Ashcraft, be relatively good long guys, both supplying a sub-4 ERA. And for the Reds, this isn't necessarily a team full of a bunch of mashers. You've only got one guy in the roster with north of 10 home runs, and Ellie De La Cruz, who's been able to give you 18 home runs. That said, Spencer Steer has been able to give you 10 home runs. He's hitting about 255. DJ Friedel, Gavin Lux, these are two guys, they're giving you north of a 360 on base. So you've got quite a few guys moving the line, getting Austin Hayes off the injured list, who's giving you 8 home runs and a 275 average. That should be able to help this team out moving forward, especially with the likes of Christian Encarnacion Stranded Company at the bottom fold, not give you a whole heck of a lot, but do think that the Reds get to Sandy Alcantara and get the job done. I do like the Reds, most likely on the run line. I'm going to be able to take that plus number, and here at an 8.5, I like the over. So I might total it at 8.8. 907-908 on the card. The St. Louis Cardinals play us the Washington Nationals. Mackenzie Gore hopes to not get gored for Washington, and Andre 3000 Palante is on the bump for St. Louis, and St. Louis is a favorite of any between minus 110 to a minus 115. Right around plus 102 to a minus 105 is that number on Washington. 8.5 is the total. Under is minus 125, and the over is plus 105. I did set the Cardinals at a minus 116, so I'm going to be willing to take a shot on their money line. For Andre Palante, it's not like he's been amazing thus far this season. He's posting up an ERA that is in that neighborhood about a 4.10, but you know what? He's doing a nice job just going out there, holding down the fort as his fielding independent is a little bit higher than his 4.10 ERA because he's only getting 6 strikeouts at 3 walks per 9 innings, but 3 runs or fewer allowed in 9 out of his last 10 starts, and the St. Louis Cardinals have a very defined bullpen advantage because the Washington Nationals bullpen is just absolutely terrible. For the Washington Nationals, dead last in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. We've actually gotten some okay innings out of Kyle Finnegan along with Brad Lord, so that's been able to help this team out just a skoge, but still, you're going to need to be getting a lot more out of these guys moving forward as you've got guys like Zach Brzezinski, Jackson Rutledge, throw in there as well someone like a Ryan Lotus, who they've been trying out there. I mean, these are all guys that are posting up north of 5 ERA, and then for the Washington Nationals, very interestingly, they're averaging between about 3.8 to 3.9 runs per game when they're at home. Away from home, they're getting a full run per game more, with James Wood providing good wood. 23 home runs this season. CJ Abrams, he's got 12 home runs, but 10 of them have come on the road this season. He's hitting about a 285. You've had Alex Colby able to give you about a 380 on base. So you've got guys that are moving the line. Nathaniel Lowe not hitting for a ton of average, but he's been able to crank out 13 home runs as well. And then on the flip side, you've got a bunch in the St. Louis Cardinals who they just don't have a lot of power. They're in the bottom 6 in the big leagues in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis, but you do have quite a few guys that are starting to step it up a little bit more for this team. As you've got Wilson Contreras, Alec Burleson, Lars Nootbaar, throwing there Nolan Arenado. I'll give you between 10 and 11 home runs this season. Arenado's dealing with a little bit of injury, but that's really not hurting the team that much. I recognize that he's a big name, but hasn't been able to put up a lot of production. Now you do need a bit more average out of Nolan Gorman. He's only hitting about a 220, but Victor Scott has been able to give you 22 stolen bases. Lone guy on the roster who's giving you north of 4 stolen bases, so you need a little bit more there, but Brendan Donovan along with Burleson, both hitting above a 285, and then that bullpen advantage for the St. Louis Cardinals. They're about league average in terms of their bullpen ERA, but the top guys have been pretty rock solid. Kyle Leahy, Phil Matone, Jojo Romero, Riley O'Brien. I'll give you sub 305 ERA. I know that Ryan Elsley had 5 blown saves to begin the season, but he's been able to do a little bit more for him as well. So I do think that even though Mackenzie Gore has been rock solid this year, he's posting up a 3.10 ERA. Feel like your pen is right in that neighborhood about 3, 11.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, about 2.9 walks, less than home run allowed per 9 innings. I do think that the Cardinals find a way to persevere, get the job done in what I think is going to be a relatively low-scoring game. I think that Palante holds his own. I think that Gore gives you a good start, so I might tell it 7.9, so I like the under, and I do like the Cardinals on the money line. 9-9, 9-10 on the betting board. It's the Arizona Diamondbacks on the road against the Slam Diego Padres, as Dylan Cease is on the bump for the Pods, and Brandon Pfaadt looks to battle for Arizona. Arizona is a plus 110 to a plus 122 underdog. Minus 130 to a minus 137 is that number on the Padres, and 7.5 is the total. The over is minus 115 to minus 120, and the under is between even at minus 105. And with Dylan Cease and the Padres, I did set them at a minus 145. I'm going to be willing to lay the number. Now for Dylan Cease, it's been a no good, very bad, terrible year. I do think that he's going to be able to round into a little bit of better form though. 4.62 ERA, but a 3.40 fielding dependent, giving up 3.3 walks and 1.1 home runs per 9 innings. But he's also posting up north of 11 strikeouts per 9 innings. Has given up at least 4 runs at 3 out of his last 4 starts, and I believe that he's up to 3+ runs in something like 8 out of his last 11. So that's not been good to say the least, but On the flip side, you've also got a guy in Brandon Pfaadt who's really had a rough season. A 5.42 ERA, fielding independent is in that neighborhood of a 4.66, 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he's also giving up 1.6 home runs per 9. He has given up at least 3 runs in each of his last 3 starts, albeit one of those starts there was a run or two that was unearned, but still, you're going to need to get a bit more there. Now, the good news for the Arizona Diamondbacks, they do have a lineup that's able to support him very well. This Diamondbacks lineup is currently in the top 5 in the big leagues in terms of runs per game, as they are dealing with some injuries, but now getting Corbin Carroll back in the fold. 20 home runs this far this season is big, and Eugenio Suarez, 28 bombs. He has been absolutely magnificent, and plenty of guys moving the line for this team. Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte, a home run every about 12.5 at-bats. He's been able to give you 400 on base. Geraldo Perdomo's give you 370 on base. You've got a guy in Gabriel Moreno who's been a little bit banged up himself, but when he's been out there, he's been relatively solid, and the understudies at the catcher spot have been able to do a nice job. Like Jose Herrera has been not necessarily providing a ton with regards to that, but that's why they've turned to James McCann in a small sample size. He's been solid. Alec Thomas is able to move a line for you as well. The big concern for the Arizona Diamondbacks is the bullpen. Bottom 5 of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Kyle Backus in his first 10 appearances has given you a sub-2 ERA, and Shelby Miller has been very rock solid. He's given you about a 2 ERA as well. Aside these two guys, pretty much everyone north of a 3.75 ERA. Juan Barillo, Ryan Thompson, Bryce Jarvis, Justin Martinez. You just go down the list of guys. They're just flat out not getting the job done. And for the San Diego Padres, this is a top 16 with regards to their bullpen ERA. Audrey Morejon, Jason Adam have both been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Been able to get a lot of production as well out of some of these longer guys as well. Jeremiah Stroud is more of a one-inning guy. He's been able to give you a 3.25 ERA. And Wandy Peralta is starting to act up on you just a skoge. But that said, I do think that Robert Suarez, after he had the 3 blown saves over the course of like 10 days, I think that he's going to round back in form. And for the Padres, though this is not a lineup that is really ripping the cover off the ball, you have a trio of guys, Kevin Cheats, Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr. I'll give you at least 13 home runs. I'll give you at least 259, and in the case of Machado and Tatis, both north of a 350 on base. Xander Bogaerts, after a miserable start to the year, still not giving you a ton of power, but now he's hitting at 255. The catcher spot has been rough. Neither of their catchers are really giving anything whatsoever at the plate. That final outfield spot with Jason Hayward, he got DFA'd, so they're looking to be able to fill that. That's been a bit of an issue for them as well, but I do think that with Dylan Cease, he's doing for quite a bit of positivity. I do think that for Brandon Pfaadt, he's going to continue to struggle a little bit here. So, circumstance where I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the Padres on the money line, set them as minus 145, and made my total at 8.2. I just think that the 7.5 total is way too low. I'm going to be in on the over, and I'm going to be in on that Padres money line, 9-11, 9-12 on the betting board. It is the Detroit Tigers, and they're going to be playing out to the Tampa Bay Rays. Zach Little hopes to come up big for the Rays, and it is Reese Olson on the bump for Detroit, minus 145 to a minus 157 is that number on Detroit, and between plus 128 to plus 135 is that number on Tampa Bay, and it is the total. The over is minus 115, and the under is minus 105, and this just feels like too low of a total, especially with Zach Little giving up 2 home runs per 9 innings. He's been getting pelted with that regard. I did set my money line price at a minus 144 right now. That best number that I'm seeing out there is in the neighborhood of about a minus 143. I'm seeing a minus 143, so I'd be willing to lay the money line here. Reese Olson is making just his second start coming off the injury list, but overall has been able to do a solid job. He's posting up less than a 3 ERA. Throughout his career, has always been very good at being able to keep the ball in the yard as well, and that has been no exception this season, even though it has been a little bit of an injury-riddled season. Half home run allowed per 9 innings in his total of 53 innings. He's only given up 3 bombs. Now, the 3.4 walks per 9 innings, a little bit of an issue, and in his first start back coming off the injury list, only was able to go 4 1/3 innings. So, something to be noted there, but he only gave up 1 run in that start. I do think that having to go up against the Tampa Bay Rays lineup, that is going to be a little bit rough. This Rays team is a top 7 team in terms of runs per game, as Junior Caminero and Brandon Lau, these two guys have been absolutely amazing for the team. They combined 40 home runs between the two of them. Lau has been able to about a 275, and Junior Caminero has been able to a little bit north of a 250. Jonathan Aranda has been able to give you 400 on base. Yandy Diaz has been able to give you about a 350 on base and 14 home runs, while you've had Jake Mangum hit a 300 along Chandler Simpson. Both of these guys give you a double-figure amount of stolen bases. Jose Cabrera doesn't get on base a ton, but he's giving you 31 stolen bases, so he's been rock solid there. Thanks to Cameron Mizzer, Taylor Walls, the catcher spot, need to give you a little bit more on for the Tigers. They're a little bit more rounded top to bottom with their offense, top 5 team in terms of runs per game. Now they are dealing with the injury to Gary Carpenter, who's been able to give you 16 home runs this year, but Spencer Torkelson, Riley Green, 42 home runs between the two of them. Green has made it about a 285. 265, and you've got a whole bunch of guys moving the line. Dylan Dingler, Gleyber Torres, Javi Baez, only between about a 267 to 280. Zach McKinstry is up to a 355 on base. He's been able to about a 280. Cole Keith is starting to move the line a little bit more for the team as well. And Wencio Perez, since he's come off the injury list, has been solid. Both of these teams are about league average with regards to their bullpen area, but the top guys for both of these teams are actually quite solid. Pete Fairbanks, Garrett Clevenger, Eric Orze. You've got a lot of guys for this Rays team give you a sub 325 ERA. Kevin Kelly's been solid as well. And then for the Tigers, you've had likes of Tommy Canley, Will Vest, Chase Lee, throw on their Brand Herter, all these guys being able to give you a sub 3 ERA as well. Bailey Horn looks to be someone that they might have found a little bit of something with, but I do think that for Zach Littell, the fact that he's giving up 2 home runs per 9 innings, that is very alarming. Now, his ERA is below a 360, but his fielding independent is a 506. I do think that he's going to be had a little bit more in this spot. I do think that Reese Olson probably going to be having a little bit of a rough go of it as well, so I did set my total at 8.8. I like the over, and at a minus 143 or better, looking at the Tigers on the money line. 913, 914 on the betting board. It is the Toronto Blue Jays on the road against the Chicago White Sox. Adrian, don't call him Doogie Howser on the bump for the White Sox, and Eric Lauer goes for Toronto, and Toronto is a favorite of anywhere between minus 142 and minus 150, and between plus 122 to a plus 130 is that number on the south side, or is 8.5 is the total. Under is minus 120, and the over is even, and I did set a total of an 8.8. I do like the over with Adrian Hauser. It has been a very good season for him thus far, but I do sense that there's going to be a little bit of regression for him. For Mr. Hauser, not necessarily some sort of strikeout artist or anything like that. .60 ERA compared to a 309 fielding independent, 6.6 strikeouts and 2.8 walks per 9 innings. He is backed up by a bullpen that's currently in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of ERA, though. Mike Vasil returning to the bullpen after he was utilized as a starter while Jonathan Cannon was on the injured list. That's going to be up this team out quite a bit. You have had Steven Wilson be able to give you a sub 3 ERA as well, so you've got guys that are doing a nice job of contributing, but these aging, shall we say, guys in the bullpen, that has been a little bit of an issue for them, so I do think that there's going to be some ups and downs. Jordan Leisure is posting up north of 4 ERA as well, so I do think that for the White Sox, they're going to give up a few runs there to a Blue Jays team that's been very intriguing. They're posting up about 5.4 runs per game at home. That is number 1 in the American League. Meanwhile, on the road, more like 3.8 runs per game. I do think that this is going to iron out, and for the Blue Jays over the last month or so, they've been one of the better power hitting teams in all baseball, and that's been headlined by George Springer. The fact that he has come in and he's been able to give the team 16 plus home runs and north of a 365 on base. He's been able to do a great job there. Additionally, you've got guys that just flat out move line. Ernie Clement, don't call his name, Alejandro Kirk, both hitting above a 295. Nathaniel Lukes, Viger Jr., Bo Bichette, who I mentioned before, and Springer, Addison Barger, all in between a 269 to a 279. Guerrero's up to 12 home runs. He's been able to give you nearly a 380 on base as well. So you've got a lot of guys that they find a way on. And for the White Sox, they're averaging more than a full run per game, more at home rather than on the road. Still a bottom 5 team in the big leagues in terms of runs per game, but Mike Tauchman is finding a way on, hitting darn near 300. Lennon Sosa has been able to hit about a 275 for this team as well. They've got a lot of mixing and matching with the likes of Edgar Quiero and Teal at the catcher spot. They've all been able to give you some average, not really a lot of power, and that is the issue with this Chicago White Sox team. They had in the lineup yesterday 4 guys in there that had north of 4 home runs as far this season. Andrew Benintendi and Miguel Vargas leading the way with 10 home runs. Luis Rivera has 8 home runs, but hitting a .185. That's terrible, as he, Vargas, Joshua Palacios, Josh Rojas, Michael A. Taylor, so many guys in this lineup hitting at 225 or lower, but again, have been a little bit better at home. And for the Toronto Blue Jays, this bunch is right around about 12th in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. You've had the 2 Bs, Brandon Little, Braden Fisher, both give you a sub 275 ERA. Uriel Rodriguez, a sub 3 ERA, he has been very good in this bullpen. And Jeff Hoffman, he's been able to do a nice job in the closer's role as well. That said, I do think that for Eric Lauer, you're going to be able to get a pretty rock solid start. While Eric Lauer is not necessarily a guy that's going to give you a whole bunch of strikeouts, he's been able to do a solid job in terms of getting some consistent swings and misses this year. About 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, 2.5 walks per 9, 265 ERA, about a 361 fielding independent, but has really honed it in. 3 runs or fewer allowed in each out of his last 5 starts. He has given up 2 or fewer in 4 of his last 5, and I do think that he's going to be able to keep off balance a White Sox lineup that just has not been able to provide you too much of anything whatsoever. Now, again, with the White Sox, they've been able to do a better job of being able to generate that offense at home rather than on the road, but do think that Lauer goes out there, gets the job done. A big reason why I did set the money line price here at a minus 150, and if you're looking to lay a run half right now with the Toronto Blue Jays, you're going to be getting about a plus 115 to a plus 120. I'm willing to take a shot on that run line, and here with this total at an 8.5, set mine at an 8.8, I do like the over. 9-15, 9-16 on the card. The Seattle Mariners are on the road against the New York Yankees as Logan Evans is on the bump for the Mariners, and Cam Schlittler, he is going to be making his MLB debut for the Yankees. And right now the initial openers I am seeing at the Superbook is minus 137 on the Yankees, plus 127 on the Seattle Mariners. So odds game is 9.5. The over is minus 115 and the under is minus 105. And our good friend and Mr. Schlittler is going to be a guy that I'm going to be willing to back. I did set the New York Yankees here at a minus 142 on the money line, so I'm going to be willing to roll with it. If you take a look at what he was able to do at the minor league level, some relatively solid swing and miss stuff. I'm not going to say that he was like the number one prospect out there in all of baseball or anything like that, but I mean, he's had a solid year. The 6-6 record isn't necessarily something I'm too concerned with. He was getting 11.6 strikeouts per 9 innings, 3 walks per 9, not allowing a lot of hard contact. When he went up to the AAA level, that did balloon up to a 3.80 ERA, but he was also getting 13 plus strikeouts per 9 innings. Does have to face off against a Seattle Mariners team that has been a top 10 unit in terms of runs per game away from home, and you've got big dumper Cal Raleigh just absolutely dumping on opposing pitchers, as he's right now on pace for an American League record for home runs in a season, 35 plus bombs, 380 on base, and I mean, just really this entire Mariners lineup is moving the line. They did DFA Rowdy Tellez, even though he was giving you power, but Luke Raley's up to about a 350 on base, JP Crawford a 380 on base, Julio Rodriguez, Ode Polanco, both give you double-figure mound bombs, both hitting in that neighborhood about a 245 to 255. Dom Canzone is hitting above a 280. And then on the flip side for the New York Yankees, offense has not been the issue for them. They entered into yesterday where there was a lot of rain and everything like that, having averaged 5+ runs per game in each of the last 6 games. Yasan Dominguez is doing a good job getting on. He, Jazz Chisholm, and Paul Goldschmidt, all between about a 342, 350 on base. So Goldschmidt, since the beginning of the month of June, does have a sub 180 batting average. He needs to work on that. Anthony Volpe, Austin Wells have not necessarily been able to get on as well, but you got Giancarlo Stanton. I think he's going to find it sooner rather than later. Cody Bellinger, he has been tremendous, give you a double-figure amount of homers, 275 average. Trent Grisham was out of the lineup yesterday, but he's been able to provide 15 homers and a 350 on base. And Aaron Judge, we all know what Aaron Judge is doing, 465 on base, 33 home runs entering into yesterday. And for the Yankees, the big thing is, what are you going to be able to get out of this bullpen moving forward, as they have fallen to below average with regards to that bullpen, especially Fernando Cruz on the injured list. Devin Williams is just having a bad year. He's posting up a 5 ERA. It's been a little bit better recently, but you've got Tim Hill, Luke Weaver, who are both supplying you with relatively good sub 325 ERAs, but I mean, for Luke Weaver, ever since coming off the injured list, he hasn't necessarily been himself. Yuri De Los Santos, dare I say, might actually be the best reliever on the team right now, and for the Seattle Mariners, they're in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of their bullpen ERA. Some of the bottom guys have been letting you down a little bit, but Casey Lugumina is starting to pick it up, and then you've got Matt Brash, Andres Munoz, Gabe Spire, all give you at least a 3 ERA or better. Carlos Vargas, he's right around about a 3.15 ERA as well, so I do think that that's going to be a rock solid component for the team. And for Logan Evans, he should be doing for a little bit of regression. If you look at the raw ERA numbers for Logan Evans, he's been able to do a solid job thus far. A 2.96 ERA, but he is only getting about 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. Field independent is a 4.62 with 1.4 home runs per 9 innings, and he has given up now at least 4 runs in 2 out of his last 4 starts. So I do think they get stung here. So I told 9.7. I like the over, and with the Yankees, I'm willing to lay up to a minus 140 on that money line. 9.17, 9.18 on the card. The Cleveland Guardians are on the road against the Houston Astros. Brandon Walter is on the bump for the Astros. Slade Sassoni is on the bump for the Guardians. Guardians are an underdog of between plus 118 to a plus 125, and between minus 135 to minus 144. That number on Houston with a total of 8, under is minus 120, and the over is even. And I did set my total here at an 8.6. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the over. For Slade Sassoni, he's been able to do a pretty solid job in terms of being able to just get strikeouts, but what he has not done a great job of is being able to keep the ball in the yard. For Slade Sassoni, he's north of 1.5 home runs per 9 innings are quite a bit of an issue. He's posting up overall a 3.56 ERA, but a 4.69 fielding independent with those 1.7 home runs allowed per 9 innings. To his credit, 3 earned runs or fewer allowed in each of his last 5 starts. And for Brandon Walters, he's been a little bit up down all around the season as he's starting to have some issues. He has given up a combined 13 runs over the course of his last 3 starts. Now, one of those starts on the road at elevation at Coors Field, but I mean, he's done a really good job of not giving up any walks. He's given up 2 walks in his 6 starts, so half a walk per 9 innings, 8.5 strikeouts per 9, but he's also now giving up 1.6 home runs per 9 innings. Now, for Walter, he is backed up by one of the better bullpens that you're going to find in all of baseball. As a matter of fact, going into the day on Tuesday, the Astros, number 2 in all of baseball with a 3.24 ERA. Got the Bryants, Brian King, Brian Abreu, Stephen Oker, throw in there someone like a Sean Dubin, Josh Hader. All these guys give you a sub 350 250 ERA. And for the Astros, they are starting to find it on offense as well. We saw that over the weekend against the LA Dodgers, the way that they were able to completely tattoo them. And you've got Jose Altuve starting to look like the Jose Altuve of old. This man has now been able to give you 15 plus home runs. Back to hitting above a 265. Isaac Paredes, he's been able to supply 18 plus home runs. He's giving you nearly a 350 on base. And Cam Smith, nearly a 350 on base. That's rock solid. Yanier Diaz, along with Christian Walker, both have a double figure amount of homers. Both of these guys, though, hitting below a 290 with regards to their on base. They're going to need get a little bit more there. Mauricio Dubon, though he hits about a 250, you need a bit more there as well. But that said, for the Cleveland Guardians, very top heavy lineup. Steven Kwan hitting about a 295, and then Jose Ramirez, 15 plus home runs. He's hitting above a 300. Carlos Santana gives a little bit in terms of on-base percentage, but they now have recalled John Quincy Noel along with Brian Rocchio from the minor league level. These two guys, Daniel Schneemann, Bo Naylor, all hitting a 215 or lower. Kyle Manzardo is hardly hitting above a 215. Recognize a double-figure amount of homers, but you need quite a bit more out of him as well. Nolan Jones is hitting about a 220. Like, it is just a rough lineup, and it's a Cleveland Guardians bullpen that it's about league average with regards to their ERA. As you've had Hunter Gaddis really start to poop the bed. He's posting up about a 3.40 ERA. Emmanuel Clase has actually been quite a bit better recently. That blown save against the Tigers on Sunday, that was on Bo Naylor for not blocking the ball. Nick Enright along with Eric Sobrowski, sub 250 ERA, but Jacob Junis, Tim Herron, they're both hovering right around about a 4 with regards to their ERA. You've had Matthew Festa not be great in this bullpen. Paul Sewald is coming off the injured list. He hasn't been great either, and I do think that for the Houston Astros, they do a nice job of getting to Sassoni, and they are able to get the job done. Set my money line price at a minus 134. Right now, I'm seeing a minus 133 out there. That'd be my max lay on this one. If you're looking to lay a run half, you're going to be getting that right in the neighborhood about plus 150, plus 155, and if worse comes to worse, I would be willing to take a plus 150 or higher on the run line. Personally, I do want that money line a little bit more than the run line, but we'll be on the Astros, and I will be on the over. 919, 920 on card. The LA Angels play host to the Walker, Texas Rangers. Coomer Rocker is on the bump for the Rangers, and the Professor Kyle Hendricks goes for the Halos. Total on this game is 9, the under is minus 115, and the over is minus 105. And when it comes to the Rangers, they're in between minus 122 to minus 132 favorites, and between plus 108 to plus 114. That number on the Halos. And for the Angels, I'm going to be willing to take a shot on them. I set them at a minus 137 on the money line. I frankly just do not understand this pricing. With Coomer Rocker, a 5.80 ERA, recognize that he's been better. 2 runs or fewer allowed in 4 of his last 5 starts, so there has been marked improvement there. That said, it is still a Texas Rangers lineup that is currently in the bottom 6 in the big leagues in terms of runs per game. Just have not been able to get anything going on that front. Now with the Texas Rangers, if you look at the bullpen ERA, ever since May 1st, they've been very solid. They've been number 3 in the big leagues in terms of that bullpen ERA, as you've had likes of a Chris Martin, Robert Garcia, the long guy, and Jacob Latz all be able to give you a sub 350 ERA, so they've been able to do a nice job of holding down the fourth there. But again, what are you going to be able to get out of this offensive? What are you going to be able to get out of a guy in Coomer Rocker? His strikeouts per 9 rate is below 9. That was always supposed to be his specialty. If you look at the fielding independent, it is below a 5, so he's been a little bit better with that regard, but still have my massive trepidations with him. And then with regards to Kyle Hendricks, certainly has been an up-down all-around season for him, but I think that he's going to be able to give you a presentable start against a Texas Rangers team that is in the bottom 5 in the big leagues in terms of runs per game, as just haven't been able to get a lot out of these guys all season long. To the credit of Corey Seager, has really picked it up over the last 15 or so days with 4 home runs, so you do like to be able to see that. But you still have some of these guys like Marcus Semien, Jonah Heim, Adolis Garcia, Wyatt Langford, Kyle Higashioka, Jake Berger, all in between about a 224 to 235. Really none of these guys other than Langford have north of 10 home runs thus far this season. They still have Jock Peterson on the injured list, which that's not a bad thing for this team, but also for Kyle Hendricks, it has been an issue in terms of the fact that, for one, he's not getting any strikeouts whatsoever, and he never really has. For Kyle Hendricks, has never been a punch-out guy. He's getting about 6 strikeouts per 9 innings, 4.68 ERA, but now giving up 1.5 home runs per 9 innings, that's a little bit of an issue. And for Kyle Hendricks, he's also had a little bit of an issue with regards to his pitching at home, as he's been giving up at home about 1.4 home runs per 9 innings, so that's an issue. It does go down to about 3.94 ERA at home. He's been a little bit better there, but I do think that in the end, you got a Texas Rangers team that just flat out should not be favored. And I do think that for the LA Angels, the fact that you do have a team that's in the top 4 in the big leagues in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis is going to be reigning true. that is a team that doesn't really do a great job of getting on base. Like Taylor Ward, 20 home runs, about a 300 on base. Joe Adell is now hitting a 245 with 18 home runs. That's great. But Logan O'Hoppe, very happy about the 17 home runs. Not so happy about the sub 270 on base. Nolan Chunol's moving line. He's been able to give you about a 340-ish on base. Zach Neto, he's hitting up 270. He's been able to do a nice job, give you 13 home runs as well. You need to get more out of Lamont Wade Jr., Luis Rengifo. These guys just not finding a way on. But I do think that even though this is an Angels team that ranks in the bottom 5 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA, like some Reed Detmers, Ryan Zeffrion, Brocken Rolberg, Kenley Jansen, all supplying north of a 3.75 ERA, and Hunter Strickland, probably the best relief piece, hitting the injured list. Not so savory to say the least. I do think that this Angels team should not be the underdog in this spot. Set the Angels at a -137. I like the money line. Set my total 9.3. Also in on the over. 921, 922 on the card. It is the New York Metropolitans on the road against the Baltimore Orioles. Tomoyuki Sugano is on the bump for the Orioles, and David Peterson, great name, goes for the Mets. Mets are between -145 to -157 favorites. +128 to +135 is that number. Baltimore 9.5 is the total. Under is -115. The over is -105. Able to find +105 if you're looking to lay a run half with the Mets. And for the Mets, I set them at a -134. +135 is my buy point on the Orioles. David Peterson has done a nice job in inducing soft contact, giving up less than a home run per 9 innings. But I do just have a little bit of a fear that the bottom might be falling out on him just a little bit. A 3.18 ERA. He is only getting about 8.5 or so strikeouts per 9 innings, actually closer to 7.7 strikeouts per 9 innings. And he does give up a little bit more than 3 walks per 9 innings as well, about a 351 fielding dependent. And for Sugano, he does a nice job in terms of not giving out walks. Right now, his walks per 9 rate, that's about a 1.8, but he's also giving up 1.8 home runs per 9 innings, and he is only getting 5.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, 3+ runs allowed in each out of his last 5 starts. It is a Mets team that has honestly been about league average in terms of run creation. That's because they're a very top-heavy lineup. Top 4 guys have been very good in terms of their power. Francisco Lindor, Brandon Nimmo, Juan Soto, Pete Alonso, all hitting at least a 255, all give you at least 17 home runs. In the case of Soto, darn near 400 on base, but then Mark Vientos, Brett Beatty, along Tyrone Taylor, all a 277 on base or less. Beatty has now been able to give you 9 home runs. It's Jeff McNeil when he's been out there, hitting for a 350 on base, 9 home runs. So he's been able to come along for the ride a little bit as well, but certainly has been shaky with that regard. And for the Mets, this is a bullpen that for much of the year has been a top 10 unit with regards to their bullpen ERA. They have slipped a little bit. They're down to about 13th. The long guys have still been solid. Jose Buto is giving you a sub-3 ERA. Oscar Barzobin is up to about a 370 with regards to that ERA, but Edwin Diaz is giving you about a 2 ERA. Reed Garrett, even though he's had some struggles recently, still pretty rock solid. Ryan Stanek, he's sitting in that neighborhood about a 4, so that's not great in terms of his ERA. And for the Baltimore Orioles, does feel like the bullpen is starting to find its way. Sir Anthony Dominguez down to a sub-350 ERA. Andrew Kittredge came off the injured list, looked rough. He has been a little bit better recently. Now, I have no faith whatsoever in Gregory Soto Jr. Cano, but Brian Baker, Felix Bautista have been pretty solid. And for the Orioles, this has been a bottom 10 team in terms of run creation and runs per game, but you've got a lot of guys who've been able to hit 10+ home runs this far this season. Cedric Mullins has been chief among them. Now, he's only hitting about a 213 with his 13 home runs, but he's been able to do a solid job in terms of giving you power. And then Ryan O'Hearn, Jackson Holliday, Gunnar Henderson, Ramon Laureano, all between 10 and 11 home runs. All these guys hitting at least a 255, and in the case of O'Hearn, nearly a 380 on base. He has been tremendous for this bunch. Adley Rutschman is on the injured list, but Gary Sanchez has been able to give you a little bit of power. Colin Cowser, 8 home runs in less than 120 at-bats this season, not hitting for a lot of average, but getting back he and Jordan Westberg. I do think that these guys find their way. I do think that the Orioles get the job done. What I think is going to be a pretty good scoring game. I set my total 9.2. Now they're up to 9.5. It's gone just a scotch too far for me. I do like that 9.5 under. I do like the Orioles at a +135 or higher on the money line. 923, 924 on the card. The Colorado Rockies hit the road they're facing off against the Boston Red Sox. Lucas Giolito is on the bump for the Sox, and Antonio Senzatella goes for the Colorado Rockies. 9 is the total. Over is -115. The under is -105. Boston is between -285 to -303 favorites. Between +245 to a +248 is that number on the Colorado Rockies, and I'm going to be willing to take a run line of the Boston Red Sox. Right now, find that about -140, -145. Would be willing to go up to a -149. Lucas Giolito has actually been pretty rock solid for the Boston Red Sox recently, as he overall for the season has an ERA that's just a hair below 4, but has really locked in recently. He's given up 2 earned runs or fewer, and now 4 out of his last 5 starts, actually all 5 of his starts, because the runs that he gave up against the Giants, many of them were unearned runs. The swing and miss stuff is down a little bit this year. 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, typically sitting more around about 9.5 punch-outs per 9 innings, but has cut down on the walks. Typically that's about 3.5 per 9, down to about 2.8 this season, and he's been really doing a nice job keeping the ball in the yard. Has only given up 2 home runs over the course of his last 5 starts, and for Antonio Senzatella, he gives up a home run and a half per 9 innings, and he is giving up 13.8 hits per 9 innings, 6.57 ERA. He's getting 4.8 strikeouts per 9 innings, and his walks are up too. He's up to north of 3.3 walks per 9 innings. Just a guy that does not belong out there on a big league mound. To his credit, 300 runs or fewer allowed in 3 out of his last 4 starts, but I don't think that that's going to be long lasting against the Boston Red Sox team that is in the top 8 in the big leagues in terms of runs per game. Took them a little bit of time to find their bearings without Rafael Devers, and so you could use a little bit more of something like a Roman Anthony. He's been able to give you an on-base percentage that is north of a 340, but not necessarily hitting for a ton of average. You're looking to someone like a Eaton at the top of the fold to give you a bit more of something along with Marcelo Meyer, but I mean, still, you've got Rami Gonzalez sitting above 300, Rob Refsnyder along with Abraham Toro. These mix and match guys have been solid. Trevor Story's up to a double-figure amount of homers. Still would like to see north of a 289 on base. And Ceddanne Rafaela, 310 on base is a little bit low, but he's been looking much better as well. And for the Colorado Rockies, this team is averaging 3 runs per game away from home. Hunter Goodman, double-digit amount of bombs away from home, but you've got Ryan McMahon hitting well below $175 when he's away from home. Brendan Doyle, Orlando Arcia, both of these guys hitting less than a 210. You've gotten not much of anything out of Mickey Moniak on the road. At home, Mickey Moniak has been quite good with regards to his power, but on the road, he has hit, I believe now, 5 home runs this far this season, and on the road, he is barely hitting above a 230, so a little bit of an issue there. And for the Colorado Rockies, this is a unit that is in the bottom 5 of the big leagues in terms of their bullpen ERA. Now, you do have a few solid pieces, Victor Vodnik, Jake Bird, Jimmy Erget. I'll give you a sub-4 ERA, and Seth Alverson right around about a 4 himself, but still, it's not one that I really want to be trusting in too much. And additionally, for the Boston Red Sox, this is a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Aroldis Chapman continue to give you north of 12 strikeouts per 9 innings and a sub-2 ERA. Justin Slayton is now on the injured list, but Greg Weiser, Justin Wilson, Garrett Woodlock, all a sub-365 ERA. I do think that the Red Sox go out there, win this game by multiple runs, semi-total 9.7, so like the Red Sox run line and this total over. 925, 926 on the card. The Chicago Cubs play host to the Minnesota Twins. David Fessa hopes to have a fiesta for Minnesota, and Cade Horton, here's a who is on the bump for the Chicago Cubs. Cubs are very slim favorites of minus 107 to minus 115. Anywhere between minus 102 to a minus 105 is the number on Minnesota. 9 is the total. The over is minus 120, and the under is even. Did somebody total 9.4? I like the over. For David Fessa, it's just been a rough season for him, and I don't understand why this is a rather pick-em game. Fessa has to go up against a Cubs team that is number 1 in the big leagues in terms of runs per game. Fessa has a 5.48 ERA. Should be doing for some positivity, about a 4.50 fielding dependent, 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but also giving up 1.5 bombs per 9 innings, and he has allowed 12 runs over the course of his last 3 starts, so that's not great to say the least. And for Cade Horton, he is starting to give up the deep ball a little bit too much as well, but for Horton, he does a good job in terms of not giving out a lot of free passes, 2.8 walks per 9 innings. He did give up a pair of home runs in that start against the Houston Astros on the road, and he has been having some issues when he has been away from home in terms of hard contact, but 4.15 ERA, pretty presentable, and he's backed up by a bullpen of the Chicago Cubs that since May 1st, they've got an ERA that is more than 0.75 points better than any other bullpen. Entering into the day on Tuesday, 2.47 ERA. Since May 1st, 3.18 is the next closest mark of the San Francisco Giants. So 0.7, but still very much country mile better than everyone else. And then you just have so many guys in this lineup that are supplying the boom, as you've had Pete Armstrong along with Seiya Suzuki, both give you 23 plus home runs. Both of these guys are hitting north of a 260. Kyle Tucker, about a 385 on base. He's up to 17 home runs. Michael Busch, 18 bombs, 380 on base. Carson Kelly, a 370 on base, double figure amount of bombs. Just the list of guys supplying goes on and on. Even a guy like a Nico Horner, who doesn't give you much power, is hitting above a 280. And then for the Minnesota Twins, it's not a bad offense, it's not an amazing offense. Byron Buxton has been pretty amazing. Byron Buxton is now giving you 20 home runs, 335 on base. And Trevor Larnach, he's up to 12 home runs. He's been able to supply about a 320 on base as well, but what are you going to be able to get out of the rest of the lineup? As Brooks Lee, Ty France, along Carlos Correa, these guys hitting between about a 255 to 270. You've had Willie Castro give you about a 270 average as well. That's solid, but Matt Wallner is sitting at a 200. Cody Clemens, though he has 10 home runs and 132 at-bats, he's only hitting about a 212 as well. Edouard Julien was a big disappointment for the team this season, and for the Minnesota Twins, since May 1st, bottom 8 team in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. The top guys have still been very good, as Danny Kalum, Yohan Duran, Brock Stewart, along with Louis Varland. I'll give you a sub-3 ERA, but Justin Topa is really starting to regress. Cole Sands has been terrible, and a lot of these long guys that they've been trying to mix and match with just have not gotten the job done. I do think that Cade Orton does a good job giving you a solid start for the Cubs, and I do think that the Cubs get to Mr. Festa for a fiesta. Semi-total 9.4. I like the over, and I like the Cubs on this pick'em line on the money line. 927, 928 on the card. The Kansas City Royals play us the Pittsburgh Pirates. Bailey Falter hopes to not live up to his name for Pittsburgh, and Chris with the K. Bubich is on the bump for the Royals. Total on this game between 8 and 8.5. On the 8.5, under is minus 115, the over is minus 105. On the 8, the over is minus 125, the under is plus 105. Royals are between minus 185 to minus 195 favorites, and between plus 158 to a plus 174, that number on Pittsburgh. And if you're looking to lay in a run half with the Royals, you're only getting that at a plus 105, and at a plus 165 or higher, that does become my buy point with Pittsburgh. Now, we've got two absolutely sad and pathetic offenses. The Kansas City Royals averaging about 3 runs per game at home. The Pittsburgh Pirates about 2.9 runs per game away from home, but Bailey Falter has actually really stepped up for this team. He has given up 3 runs or fewer in now 11 out of his last 12 starts. Not going to blow you away with the swing and miss stuff. 5.4 strikeouts per 9 innings, and his walks are up too. 3 walks per 9, but he's keeping the ball in the yard, giving up 1.2 home runs per 9 innings, 3.69 ERA. Now that does get backed up by a 4.63 fielding independent, but all in all has been able to do a solid job. And then on the flip side, you've got a guy in Chris with the K. Bubich, who has been one of the best pitchers in the American League thus far this season. A 2.36 ERA, closer to about a 2.78 fielding independent, 9.3 strikeouts, and 2.8 walks per 9 innings, half a home run per 9. Is he starting to regress? Yes, he has given up 3+ runs in now 4 out of his last 5 starts, but also gets a face-off against a Pirates lineup that entering into the day on Tuesday, they had 3 guys on the roster with north of 4 home runs thus far this season. Just an absolutely powerless team, as you've gotten that out of O'Neal Cruz, who's up to 16 home runs. Andrew McCutchen, who's been pretty solid in terms of giving you a nice on-base percentage of north of a 340, and then you've had that out of Brian Reynolds. As Reynolds, along with O'Neal Cruz, you're able to throw in there Jack Swiniski, Henry Davis, Alexander Canario, all these guys getting at 227 or lower. With that lack of power, that's really costly. And for the Royals, the young guys just have not stepped up. Good news is Jack Caglione was able to give you a home run, but he, John Rave, and Nick Lofton all providing less than a 265 on base and all hitting below the middle of the line of a 200. Vinny Pasquantino and Bobby Witt Jr. picking up in terms of power. Witt Jr., 12 home runs, nearly a 300 average, and then you've been able to have Vinny Pasquantino give you 15 home runs, so I mean a little bit of encouragement there, but that said, you've got Jonathan Indiaz give you a 327 on base with not a lot of power. Salvador Perez, 10 home runs, but now he's giving you only about a 278 on base as well, so it's been pretty miserable on that front. And I do think that for the Kansas City Royals, it's really going to come down to what you're able to get out of the bullpen, and it's a little bit more depleted because they did have to land Daniel Lynch on the injured list. John Schreiber is posting up about a 3.5 ERA. Steven Cruz, Carlos Aceves, Lucas Ursich, I'll give you a sub 275 ERA. But for the Pirates, ever since May 1st, this has been a bullpen that has really been able to pick it up after their rough start to the season. This has been a team that's been about 12th in terms of bullpen ERA. David Benar has been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. You're getting Caleb Ferguson along with Dennis Santana, the 2 former Dodgers, going as well, sub 3.25 ERA. Chase Shogurt is starting to regress a little bit, but I do think that for Bailey Falter, he goes out there, gives you a relatively good start against a Royals team that's really not hitting right now. Did semi-total here at a 7.3. I'm going to be in on this total under. And with the Pirates, plus 164 better, looking at that money line, and wrap things up with 929, 930 on the card. The Athletics play hosts to the Atlanta Braves. Bryce Elder is on the bump for the Bravos. Mitch Spence goes for the Athletics. The Athletics do find themselves as a mid-size underdog here. You're going to be finding them between plus 108 to a plus 116, and minus 127 to minus 132 is that number on the Atlanta Braves. 10.5 is the total. Under is minus 115, and the over is minus 105. I am going to side with the Atlanta Braves here. I know that it's been bad, and I know that Bryce Elder is not amazing to say the least, but I did set the Braves at a minus 131 on the money line. For Elder, he has pitched like he's elderly recently, as he has given up 4+ runs in each out of his last 4 starts, as he's currently got a 5.92 ERA, fielding opponent of a 5.51. But with Bryce Elder, what I think has been very intriguing is that he's actually been able to pitch a little bit better when he's been away from Atlanta. He goes down to a 5.09 ERA. When he's been on the road, he has given up north of 2 home runs per 9 innings. So you're going to need to get a little bit more there, but it's not like Mitch Spence has been necessarily like lighting the world on fire either. For Mitch Spence, he's posting up an ERA that is in that neighborhood about a 406. And with many of these Sacramento A's pitchers, they've been a whole heck of a lot worse when they have been at home rather than on the road. For Spence, giving up about 1.3 home runs per 9 innings. He's now given up 3+ runs at each out of his last 3 starts as well. And for Mr. Spence, when he has been out there in Sacramento thus far this season, he's got an ERA of a 5.65. He at home is giving up north of 1.5 home runs per 9 innings, and he's backed by the far worst bullpen. The Athletics are in the bottom 3 in the big leagues in terms of their bullpen ERA. You're just really not getting anyone other than the long reliever and Sean Newcomb to give you good innings at this point, as pretty much everyone else in this bullpen has an ERA that is north of a 4, as you've got Hogan Harris, Mason Miller, JT Ginn, and Juice, all providing at least a 4.20 ERA. Not a lot of swing and miss outside of Mason Miller. And for the Athletics, Tyler Soderstrom, Brent Rooker have been really good in this lineup. Soderstrom, 15 home runs, so he's slowed down with power since the beginning part of the season. Rooker, 18 bombs, nearly a 350 on base. They've been dealing with the injury to Miguel Andujar, but Jacob Wilson hitting at 335 has been solid. And I do think that for the Braves, a team that is in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of runs per game, the light switch is going to be coming on. The runs have been flowing like wine out there in Sacramento, and you've got a pair of guys in Sean Murphy along with Austin Riley who've been able to give you 13 home runs apiece. For Murphy, only hitting about a 230, but the home runs on a per at-bat basis, he's getting one every about 13 at-bats. You need more out of Michael Harris and Ozzie Albies. Both of these guys hitting below a 225 with 6 home runs apiece, and Harris down to a 235 on base. That said, Matt Olson, he's been able to give you 370 on base, 17 home runs, had that long on-base streak. We've seen Ronald Acuna Jr. slow down a little bit with the homers, but still give you a 450 on base. You've had Drake Baldwin be able to give you 10 home runs, a 350 on base. I do think that the Atlanta Braves bullpen is what is able to bring you home here. Desmond Hernandez is now off the injured list, as he, Pierce Johnson have both been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. You've been able to get some relatively okay production out of Dylan Dodd, as well as a little bit of a long guy. You have had issues with Rossio Iglesias at the closer spot, but I do think that when it's all said and done, you get a scoring fest. Semi-total of 10.7, so I like the overhand with the Rays. Want to lay up to a -130 on that money line, and that'll wrap things up for the Wednesday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. A big thanks to one of our good friends, Dylan Rockford, who does great work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He joined me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one of 2 ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, Larsium, name does not matter, so per usual, please do send these into the timeline. The other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review, and I'm coming at you guys every single day throughout the baseball season, which means I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.